Yeah, it looks like Russia's been planning this almost. It looks like China's not really on board, but they were growing their gold and their reserves. So as an investor, it looks like this is affecting the U.S. markets. The U.S. markets have been pretty volatile in the last week or so. But have people already priced like the rate hike in enough and like kind of the uncertainty that's going on right now globally? Like it affects because CPI will go up, gas and energy will go up, but the overall like technology company, how much will they really lose? And like, as an investor, should you be nervous about that right now?
Yeah, great question. So this has less to do with sort of company fundamentals and more to do with the ecosystem that is the global financial markets, right? And so, tightening liquidity, all things being equal, will reduce asset market valuations, in particularly in risk assets and things that you have to take credit risk or duration risk, any sort of risk, liquidity risk to take advantage of. And so, something like a Russia, Ukraine, in an environment where growth is trending lower is something that can have a, real deleterious and potentially meaningful impact on that ecosystem because the sort of foundational principle of growth slowing is an issue, right? If we were doing this in like the summer of 2020 or even, first half of 2021, it would have been absorbed. It would have been a few weeks of headlines, but then it would fade to the background because we're all high-fiving each other about how good corporate profits are and how robust GDP growth is and how good the labor market is. The problem is we're on the backside of those sine curves. And, in terms of how our brains are wired to think, Danny Kahneman and Amos Tversky's done a tremendous amount of work on this with respect to prospect theory, but our brains are effectively wired to think in rate of change terms and to think it relative to the outcomes as opposed to what the actual outcome is. And so we're just in a bad point in the broader growth, inflation, policy valuation, positioning cycles for this not to be a problem. And that was the real issue, John.
That makes a lot of sense. And then what do you think about Jerome Powell's comments about 2 global reserve currencies and the possibility of them coexisting?
Oh, I didn't see that, but to me that sounds more like heresy. That the U.S. and it's not to say that I have a view on that or disagree with it. It's just to say that again, the U.S. and this is my foundational view for a really long period of time, which is the U.S. has the biggest guns and the biggest military and the highest sort of incentive structure associated with maintaining the status quo in terms of the global reserve currency system. So you can expect a nuclear war before we get rid of that status, give that exorbitant privilege up. That's Mark Darius Dale said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you concerned about the nuclear side when it comes to what's going on now? Do you think that's the main reason why the U.S. and other strong countries have stayed out of kind of dropping troops off and doing these things is because Russia's vast nuclear weapons?
Yes. Putin is a psychopath. He's a thug. And yeah. I think, when thugs get pushed, their image becomes the most important aspect of what it is that they're doing, right? It's not about the sort of thoughtful calculation of, is this the right choice? Is this going to have consequences or not? It's more about, I have to portray this image as a tough guy. I have to portray whatever legacy view or legacy image that I've already put out there. And so to me, that heightens the chance that we do have some sort of nuclear conflict. Now, is that probability more than 10%? Probably not. Again, like I said, it's very unlikely that Ukraine can hold off Russian forces of that magnitude for an extended period of time. They're having a trouble because they miscalculated on how much resistance they were going to initially get, right? They got popped in the mouth a little bit. It's like trying to, tackle the little guy, and it's like, oh no, the little guy can smack,
They're stealing your tanks and stuff. John saw they were selling them on eBay. They're trying to sell them on eBay.
They said $400,000, you could have it.
Yeah, and then I think it was like Ukraine or someone might have said, like, if you sell it, you don't have to pay capital gains tax.
Oh, man.
So they're incentivizing people to take and steal the tanks, which is funny.
Yeah, no, they should. I mean, but look, at the end of the day, so summarizing what I was trying to say, which is, look, I think Putin will use whatever force is necessary because his image is at stake now. His tough guy image is at stake. It has less to do with what's happening in Ukraine and how much they need to take over Ukraine. I think he's willing to do whatever's necessary. Will he need to do whatever's necessary? Most likely not. It's probably a matter of days or weeks before they ultimately succeed in this mission. But the problem is, what does success look like on the back end? What is, are you going to occupy Ukraine indefinitely? that's a tall order. I mean, we had a very difficult time occupying Iraq and, kind of keeping boots on the ground in Afghanistan with very little to no success. I mean, I wouldn't say no success, but you saw the second we pulled out of Afghanistan how unsuccessful that
Under
was.
2 weeks, it was already
it was like 2 days.
How it was. Yeah.
And so the reality is this was just a bad choice by Putin in terms of trying to take advantage of a real weak of a real, pernicious time in the global financial structure, right? Like we have already high inflation. We already got policy tightening coming ahead of this. Financial markets are volatile. Economic growth is trending lower. There's, talk of recession and by the back end of the year, beginning of next year, which by the way, I think I was on your program a couple months ago. And I think remember I said that 2 months ago, I was like, but everyone's going to be talking about recession by the end of this year. And now it's like a front
That's
page
because
headline.
you're smart.
42 macro.
Hey, you. Did you like this video? Great. We make 5 of them a day and post them here on this channel. Make sure you subscribe, like the video, and see you next time.